Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm the keeper, Skeptic, and with me I have minions Prospero,
Hello.
Jenna,
Hello.
Blind Breast,
Hi.
and the Harry Channel.
Good evening.
It's so nice to have all of you with me this evening. It's been an interesting and entertaining week on the national and international news stage, and I think we probably all have a lot to talk about. Even in the Great White North, interesting things are happening. And start off with you, Prospero. How's your day been? What's been going on with you?
It's been fine. It's been pretty decent. I was short on sleep when I got up this morning, but I had a lovely little nap and all was right with the world. So the word of the day is Gemütlichkeit.
Yeah.
I'm not suffering from Weltschmerz. It was if there was enough idiocy on Twitter to amuse me and to distract me from things that are making me genuinely angry. So it's pretty
There are
good.
some very, very punchable faces on Twitter.
Aren't there though? How was your day?
No, it's been good. It's kind of a recuperation day. I really needed to get some rest. And I actually did get a nap in this afternoon. So, yes, that's what people tune into Minions of the Zoo for is updates on my naps. But I'm feeling pretty good for an old man tonight. So things are going well. Thanks for asking.
That's good.
Jenna, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I also took a nap. We're three
Nap.
for three.
All right, then.
It's an okay, sad but okay day.
Yeah. I know you had somebody in your family
my
passed.
great uncle passed, so. But
Oh,
old.
I'm sorry.
All the great ones die. All the shitheads stay.
Yeah,
That is very true.
he was in his 90s, so.
Well, at least he had a long life.
Yeah,
That seems young to me. But maybe a matter of perspective.
and a great accent. He was from Indiana.
I didn't know people from Indiana had a specific accent.
Yeah, what was he, a Shoshone or something? Or
No, it's just this really thick accent.
It depends on where you are from in Indiana.
well, yeah, it can be a southern accent. Down by
Gomer
Louisville.
Pyle, or
Well, he passed away, so I guess I can't dox him.
Well, you can dox yourself accidentally, but I think it's funny you talking about somebody else having a thick accent because you got a pretty
my
good
goodness,
one going on there, Jenna.
You need to hear my Uncle Ronnie talk and my Uncle Dave. That's two of Uncle Skip's sons. When they have a conversation with each other, it's like a different language.
Well, it's Hoosier. They're talking in Hoosier code. So, yeah, it is a little different. But most people don't think of Hoosier as an accent. But yeah, there is one. There is one. But I've never run into anybody who has a heavy one.
It depends. In the far southern part of Indiana, there is a distinctive southern accent.
They call it the Louisville accent because it's the southern part of Indiana is dominated by the town of Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, I can tell you the county. That doesn't dox them because that doesn't tell you the town. But it's Anderson County.
Isn't Bloodwing from Indiana and he has an accent?
Yeah, he's from Indiana.
Is he?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought he was from like a more southern.
Yeah, you'd think like North Carolina or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, Middle America has an accent, top or bottom.
Yeah.
Well, in southern Indiana is, as Prospero pointed out, it's actually quite southern.
Jim Neighbors had an extreme southern accent, and he was from southern Indiana.
He had an amazing voice, but at any rate, it's good just going around the horn here. Blind Press, how was your day?
My day was all right. I got some laundry folded and my dishes washed, and I Went on, did a TikTok live while I cooked dinner and gained 3,000 followers doing so.
On TikTok?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm now at 26,000 followers on TikTok.
That's amazing.
And I am 20 subscribers away from 1,000 on YouTube now. And yeah, while I was doing that, I was trying to push my Eyes mugs, because I'm trying to sell at least 50 of them. So teespring.com/myeyes is where to get that. But yeah, other than that, we had a fine day. Nice, sunny. Probably one of the last sunny and t-shirt weather days that we're gonna have for months.
A year.
Months and months.
Jeez. Yeah, no kidding. You're about to submerge. It's like a submarine going down on,
Yep.
a 6-month patrol.
I fucking hate fall and winter. I really
You're not
do.
going to see the sky for a long time.
So,
So anyway, Harry, how was your day?
Oh, it's okay. A lot of meetings today.
Yeah.
A lot of meetings today. People do like to talk. But, it's been okay. I'm working on some pretty cool projects, and nobody's shooting at me.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, another
you
day
bill
above
it?
ground.
Bill anytime?
Oh, yeah.
Good man.
10 hours. 10 hours so far today.
Excellent.
There you go.
A day spent billing time is a good day.
Yeah, always be billing. That's the
Wait.
thing. If you're doing anything that isn't billable, you need to think about, is there a way I can make this into something that is billable?
Do people often shoot at you?
No, not often. But you know what the most beautiful thing is when you're a consultant is when you've got a conversation going with 2 separate customers in a text message and you're billing both of them simultaneously. That is the
Yes.
sweetest feeling.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
just feel it. Oh, I'm billing 2 people at once. That is the best thing. I've turned into such a whore.
Now, I actually did a fair amount of that. Even when I had my own business, what I would do is I would teach this thing. I called it the System Administration Workshop. And I'd literally teach people how to administer. Back then it was Novell Networks. I know. But it was a necessary thing. People needed to know how to set up and administer these networks. And I would say, yeah, I'm doing consulting. I'm actually working with another guy. I'm showing him how to do this. You want to come in? I can work with both of you. And I was billing both of them at the same time. It was
As you should.
rudimentary, but it was
Fantastic.
that was back in the day. I was teaching them IPX, SPX, Harry.
I didn't have to do much with Novell for networks, but it was a thing. Also,
Yeah.
SCO Unix, all that other
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. SCO
times.
Unix. Yeah. Anyway, so them was the days, and but now we're just living in lunatic times. One of the things that I ran across was a quote from a guy I went to middle school with named Thucydides, and he said the secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage. And that brings me to the case of Lieutenant Colonel Schellen. And he is accused, essentially, of breaking the chain of command by putting out a video calling for his superior officers to be accountable for the absolute complete skullfuck of a job that they did in Afghanistan.
He's sitting in jail right now for it.
Brave man.
He's actually in jail. I actually doubted that he was. I couldn't believe they would take a lieutenant colonel and put him in the can.
I'm sure the Marines at Lejeune
Yeah.
are not overly impressed with their command structure right now.
Yeah. And something like this, by the way, I'll tell you this. I would be very surprised if this is not just affecting morale in the upper middle parts of the officer cadre, probably in multiple services, but particularly in the Army and the Marine Corps right now. Very concerned about this because essentially what this guy did in doing what he did is not it is essentially against part of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I mean, he is guilty of an offense against the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and he's guilty of essentially insubordination, of failing to show proper respect to his superior officers. He also did something else wrong, which was to break the chain of command. By going to the public like that, I mean, he just embarrassed everybody in the chain of command, because
which was his intent, obviously.
that was what he wanted to do, exactly. But it doesn't matter your motivation. When you take the oath, when you take that commissioning oath, when you become an officer in the military, you give up the right to do things like that. And you say, I realize I no longer have the right to do that kind of thing. I'm now going to conduct myself according to this special set of rules that is much more restrictive than our Constitution and our laws. And when he did that, and believe me, this stuff is drilled into you. I'm sure it's very much the same now. It's drilled into in your training and in your daily life. You know, you're faced with this stuff in the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That's essentially the set of special rules that I was talking about. This brings to mind, other times when you wind up feeling like Mr. Bumble in, was it Oliver Twist, right?
Mm-hmm.
The law is a ass.
Yeah.
The law is going to be used to, end the career and put, incarcerate a guy who showed real freedom, real courage. And that's why I think, in a way, he's more free than the people who don't show courage. People like General Milley, who is a real bag of shit as far as I'm concerned.
There's an interesting parallel that I can think of, that I know that I often bring things back to Star Trek, but there's a very apt quote that Picard uses when he calls Data into his ready room after the battle at Gamma Eridon. When Data technically disobeys Picard's orders to rendezvous, and he exposes the Romulan fleet. And Picard calls him in, and he disobeyed a direct order, and all that. But then he says, the excuse, I was only following orders, has been used far too often to justify horrible deeds and actions. And that quote really resonates with me when I hear about this man who took it upon himself to be like, I'm not just gonna blindly follow orders because these orders are bullshit and they make no sense and they've caused complete strife and chaos. And if I go the chain of command, I bet you he might have even tried. And they probably told him to shut the fuck up. And he was like, no, I'm not going to shut the fuck up. I'm not going to blindly follow orders and just use that as a justification. This is wrong. I know that I'm bound by a different set of rules, but this is wrong. I don't care. This is flat out wrong.
I actually don't think, because here's what you're, just to extend your idea. Here's what you are supposed to do. If you think that something awful like this is happening, you write a memorandum. Some people call it a memorandum for the record, but you write a memorandum, and you address it for distribution up the chain of command. And in something like this, because of the nature of it, you'd probably write it to the president.
Yeah.
And when an officer writes a letter like that, this is part of the UCMJ too, that correspondence must be sent to the addressee. So if you send it to the President of the United States, it'll be delivered to the President's office. It has to be endorsed by every step of the chain of command all the way up. But you can write stuff to the Commander-in-Chief. It's not advisable. It normally will end your career even if you have a good point to write to the Commander-in-Chief, but you can do it. I don't think he did.
Do you think somebody along the chain of command, if he did, could take it upon themselves to, because of the contents of such a memorandum, take it upon themselves to accidentally mix it in with files that need shredding, per se?
No, absolutely not. Because what will happen is the next person up would say, this is crap. I don't want any of this stuff to land on me. And so you pass it along to the next layer of command without endorsement, it's called.
Okay.
And when you do that, you're saying, I wash my hands of this. I'm passing this along because of my legal requirement to do so.
Okay.
So it's passed without endorsement, and that's usually the way these things go all the way up, unless there's somebody in the chain who happens to be on your side and wants to put an endorsement, and maybe even a written endorsement, which is additional copy that they would write saying, here's why this is a good idea, or this is a good thing, or whatever, and send it along up. I doubt seriously that he did that, because that is absolutely a futile gesture. But that is what that's what doing it by the book means, is to do it that way. This guy said, I'm not going to get any action at all. If I do that, it's just going to wind up in the circular file, and I'll have damaged my career, and that'll be the end of it.
So he's damned if he does, and damned if he doesn't.
Yes.
Well,
if he sends
that's why I pulled the quote from Thucydides.
Yeah.
This guy may be in jail, but in my opinion, he's more free than Millie is.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his courage. He has courage. This is a guy who lives by his convictions. He's true to his convictions. And he has convictions. He's not a complete political whore like rear echelon motherfucker Millie is.
Oh, and Millie today, in Tom Cotton's hands, managed to end up in what is an untenable position.
Tell us about that. I didn't get a chance to watch that. What
I didn't get a
there?
chance to watch it. I read what was said.
What did they say about it?
Well, it was, Biden's on the record saying he wasn't advised not to take the troops out.
That he didn't remember, right?
Yeah.
No,
I don't remember anybody saying that. I don't remember.
Of course
said-
not.
everybody was in complete
Agreement. Yeah,
and then
they were
the
not.
next sentence, he said, when old Georgie boy asked him, all the generals were okay with this? No one wanted to leave 2,500 troops? And he went, not that I remember.
Well, yeah, not that I remember, and that's going to be his cover, and that's why Millie kind of sprung a trap on himself.
Was Millie the guy
Millie
who
said
also
that-
went to the people
Chinese?
The Chinese?
Yes,
and were
yes.
Like, hey, I'll
Yes.
make sure that this
Nuclear
doesn't
football
happen.
from-
But at the same time told Nancy Pelosi that he wasn't in the position to make a determination about the mental
Okay.
health of the commander-in-chief.
And for that, he needs to be court-martialed, by the way.
Absolutely, it should never have crossed his mind to make such a determination.
That's Article 93. He's still here.
Well,
So-
what he did in China. But anyway, what Millie said today was, yes, indeed, that the Pentagon had advised not to remove troops.
Oops.
Um,
Oopsie.
so I wonder if he heard the toilet flush on the rest of his career, because that's what just happened. Because you serve at the pleasure of the commander in chief, and
Oh, yeah, he's
the people in the White House are not going to like that he gained, say, the president. That's the only thing they're going to care about. The fact that in a single moment he may have actually told the truth. One of them has to be lying. I think both are lying about some things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it is an interesting CYA for the Pentagon
Mhm.
that Milley just tried to pull.
Well,
they didn't full-throatedly enough do so, because we know the amount of leaking that came out of the Pentagon regarding
That's what I was gonna.
The amount of leaking that came out of the Pentagon regarding Trump was extraordinary. We knew who was pissed off at him when. We knew when Mattis was having a shit fit. We knew all that kind of stuff. And I'll give this, just like with the Obamas, they're good at keeping a lid on what they want a lid kept on. And Milley and those guys in the A-ring shit circle are covering their asses.
No,
You fucked up because you didn't full-throatedly enough jump up and down and scream. There is a way to bring this to DOD. You're in the same building. Hopefully the damn secretary of defense
here's
is
there. One thing about this is the Secretary of Defense is in administrative control, but he's not in the chain of command.
No, the president is.
Yeah, the president is the top of the chain of command operationally. Secretary of Defense is the top of the chain of command administratively. This is not an administrative matter. This is a command. This is a line matter. This is something that having the troops in Afghanistan is not a matter of shipping beans and bullets. It's a matter of direct operational control of the personnel. That's
this is just
that's the president's call.
Yeah, and the White House didn't care.
Yes,
the White House didn't care. Now somebody had to make the administrative decision to close Bagram. That was a choice. I doubt that came directly from the White House. It's a little too micromanagey, I think, for them, because they're busy playing pin the tail on the potato half the time with Biden. I'm not sure any of those assholes know where Bagram was, but that was where they made their incredible strategic error. Why the fuck they picked the public airport as their base of command was fucking insane.
Actually, do you know what the primary thing that the primary reason that they left Bagram was that they, in addition to them thinking that the public airport was more defensible, was Bagram was easy to leave. Mm-hmm. They were all set up to leave, and they said, this is the easiest thing to do is just pull out there, and we'll put our operations down at the public airport,
where it will all publicly go to shit.
Well, you're surrounded in that public airport by a metropolitan area that has 2.5 million people in it. Yeah, and a lot of them like to kill Americans.
And about 100,000
especially if we give them a list of people to kill.
Just waiting. And Bagram was infinitely more defensible, and it was also, you could see
way the hell out of town.
And you could see them coming.
Right.
You can't see them coming in an urban environment. But it was, who the fuck thinks like that?
Yeah. Well, the thing was, they had a flat dictum from the president saying, we're going to be out, and I'm going to make this announcement on 9/11. Make that happen, and this is a, zero fail option. You will not fail. I don't care what has to happen. I don't care if you have to kill every American, but there will be no Americans left in Afghanistan. And they only had to kill, like 20 of them.
Hi, Gio.
Hi, Geodes. Welcome, bud. I'm sorry for not welcoming you earlier. I was going to, and then slipped my ancient
Yeah.
and decaying mind.
It's fine. Yeah, you're good. I've been having audio technical difficulties, so I'm good.
You sound good.
Cool. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
using the built-in mic on my laptop, so let's
All
go
right.
with that.
The way God intended.
Mhm.
Oh boy. Anyways, nice to have you with us, and hope you had a good day today.
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
So, anyway, yeah, we're just bitching about the situation in Afghanistan, but we don't have to talk only about that. Does anyone have anything else they would like to discuss?
Oh, I have things to bitch about.
Oh well, hey, bring it on.
Mhm.
So, we wasted 36 days and $600 million for the exact same result. Trudeau got,
You're talking about the election in Canada,
yeah,
right?
Trudeau got a measly, I think it was 3 seats.
Oh, we got that many.
I thought he
So-
only got one.
He held his minority, but he didn't like it
In
wasn't
the majority.
it wasn't a huge gain for him. There was literally no point.
Theresa May
The
got to laugh about it.
conservatives are still the opposition. Trudeau is still in power. Freaking Jagmeet Singh lost half his seats, which is really funny to me. The
Yay.
NDP lost half of their seats.
That's awful.
But what I find incredibly interesting, and I mentioned this yesterday on my coffee stream, was that last Monday, Trudeau gets reelected, and also the two Michaels got released from China magically on health reasons. And then Friday, the U.S. just hands over the Huawei lady.
Yep.
So,
Totally unrelated.
So totally had nothing to do with any of that, any of Canada's happenings.
China doesn't own any of these politicians.
It took it took over 1,000 days for this to happen. So basically, for all of Trudeau's 2 terms that he's already served.
Well,
And
Trudeau says that Trudeau about the election says you are sending us back to work with a clear mandate to get Canada through this pandemic and to brighter days ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
let's go
we've
with
seen-
mandate.
Yeah. What we've seen tonight is that millions of Canadians have chosen a progressive plan.
Shit. No.
Mr. Minority Government talking like he has a majority.
So now there is, I think there's been a petition called in the Conservative Party to basically audit Aaron O'Toole's leadership and decide whether he is worth keeping as a leader or if they're going to have a convention. Which, honestly, I hope they have a convention because they need a new leader. And my vote is for the Member of Parliament from Carleton, Mr. Pierre Poilievre. I really like that guy. I would definitely like him as the Conservative leader.
Does he have any chance?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, you think he's going to be the leader of the Conservatives?
If I would not be surprised if somebody or multiple somebodies nominated him at a leadership convention. Because the way it works is if they want a new leader, they do what's called calling a convention, where the entire all the members of parliament that are conservatives meet at some like fancy hotel for a weekend. And the first day people nominate who they would like, and then they vote and vote, like, and they just do rounds of voting until there's nobody left, basically. And there's, they've picked a leader. So this thing goes for a weekend, and it's just a weekend of multiple votes for if you've passed the first round of voting, then the nominees dwindle as the votes progress.
People get voted off the island.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. And there's like lots of speeches about, how they would lead the party, and it's basically an in-party election is basically what it is over the course of a weekend.
They're calling it the Groundhog Day election.
Yeah.
That it's basically 2019 all over again.
It literally is, because he gained so little. Like, he basically went nowhere in the vote. He gained, quite literally, I think it was 3 seats. So, oh, hello, honey.
So anyway,
Yeah, the only people that gained anything, were the Black Quebecois.
Oh, swell.
Because I guess the people in Quebec didn't want to vote for anybody else, so they just voted Black.
so have they come around to understanding that they're going to have to learn English? They're going to have to make it their.
No, Pincolo yesterday in stream chat said the last time he was in Quebec, the signage didn't even have English on it anymore.
Wow.
Like, it used to be that the English was there, but it was just in smaller print, which is not like the rest of Canada. In the rest of Canada, if there's a bilingual sign, the both languages are the same font and size. Like, you know what I mean? It's not one is bigger than the other. In Quebec, the French used to be bigger than the English, and now apparently,
I remember that.
According to Pincolo, there's no English.
There's no English at all.
French. Yeah, it's just French signs.
Oh, okay, good. Strike that from my list of places to visit.
Yeah, and they've decided that
They don't want you.
Yeah,
well,
I don't want to go anywhere.
So
I want to go to Montreal, and I'd like to see some of the places, but that's what National Geographic's for.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
see,
exactly.
and
That and saggy boobs.
What's wrong with Quebec is that they've also decided that religious garb and symbology should not be allowed if you work in a government or public sector job. However, the Quebec Superior Court ruled that a cross is not a religious symbol. So
The cross isn't a religious symbol.
They've gotten away with Catholics, because Quebec is predominantly Catholic, right?
Yeah.
The Catholics can still wear rosaries and everything. And I believe they allow the Jews to still wear yarmulke.
Allow Jews to wear a kippah?
Yeah. But they do not allow the hijab or the niqab or the turban.
They don't allow you to wear a niqab?
No. If you work in a public sector job in Quebec, like if you are
can't
a
wear a
public
niqab.
servant, you cannot wear your niqab while you're working.
Interesting.
You may not wear your hijab while you're working. You may not wear if you're a Sikh,
you can't wear the Sikh turban
while you're working.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it's okay if you're Catholic. You can proudly display your rosary.
Just like France, they are so politically Catholic.
And
they're not Catholic, particularly in behavior but oh good God, it's the feast day of blah blah. It's a day off.
Yeah. Well, the Catholic Church is not really related to God or Jesus anymore.
Oh, and then get this. So if you're an immigrant,
Mm-hmm.
in Quebec. Your children must attend an all French school. You do not get the choice to send your kids to an English school or like my aunt, for example. She came here from Russia in 2000, I believe, or 99. And then she got her citizenship before any of her kids were born. So all of her children are Canadian citizens born in Canada, naturalized, like natural citizens.
Natural born citizens.
Yeah. Okay. And then she is a citizen. She is fully trilingual. She's Russian. She speaks Russian, French, and English. She cannot choose to send her 4-year-old
To an English school.
who speaks primarily English because his father who speaks French has passed on.
Yeah.
And she, French being her third language, you don't gravitate to French if it's your third language. So she speaks mostly English to him. But she cannot choose to send him to an English school.
So
Sounds
Strictly
like she
be-
should move.
Strictly because she's an immigrant. Well, the crappy part is that if she moves to Ontario, there's nowhere you can move right now that's not ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Yeah.
cannot, like, the housing crisis is so stupid here because Trudeau allowed insane amounts of foreign investment to the point where particularly people from China, shockingly,
Got a lot of real estate.
buy up like all the houses, and then they spend half the year in China, and they do like to rent to their own if they can. My landlord, luckily, she's amazing. She's a really nice lady. But a lot of the houses that are owned by foreign investment, they're either vacant and unrented, or they are rented for astronomical prices.
the Manhattan model.
Oh, it is. You would get this. Toronto and Vancouver are more expensive to live in than Manhattan or San Francisco right now.
Wow,
Toronto is?
Yes.
You're kidding.
No.
that's expensive.
More expensive than Manhattan?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And houses in Toronto, stupid shoebox condos are going for what you would normally think a fully detached house should go for, like $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 for shitbox condos in like crack den areas.
Wow.
Great.
$900,000 for a condo.
Yep. For a crappy condo.
That's still cheaper than here.
The good condos and the good houses are getting up to over $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and its rent is. I know people who are looking to move, but they can't because their rent right now is at least tolerable because they've been there long enough.
Yep.
But if they were to try to rent a new place, a 1-bedroom apartment for them would be like $1,600.
Do you know what? I've got to tell you something. I just looked it up. The most expensive cities to live in North America, number 6 is New York City.
Oh,
Number
wow,
5.
it's number 6.
Number 5 is Calgary. Number 4 is Los Angeles. Number 3 is San Diego. Number 2 is San Francisco. And number 1, wait for it, Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver. I'm not surprised. Vancouver is very expensive.
I just think that's amazing. Um, number 7 is Boston. 8 is Washington, D.C. 9 is Seattle.
Woohoo! I made
Toronto-
the list.
Toronto doesn't make the
Toronto
list,
is
I
not
guess.
in the top 10.
How old
I
is
would
that
have-
list?
This is in the last couple of days.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I know. Vancouver is definitely. I'm not surprised that it's at number 1 at all.
But,
it's
I
crazy.
was surprised to see Calgary
Yeah.
up there. And that's got to be the housing shortage.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is, and subsidized housing is like you hear the wait list time and you can't help but laugh. It's where I am in my region. I think it's like 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
10 years.
It's like, yeah, I really, I'm in dire need of a house, and I cannot afford market rent, and I need a subsidized house.
That's
Oh
Soviet
yeah,
Union
10
level
years
stuff.
you'll have to wait.
Well, I
That's-
heard there's
that's-
a bridge.
That's
on
like
the
the
other
old
border,
Soviet
you can
Union.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, Jenna, what were you saying?
I said I heard there's a bridge on the other border you can live under.
Yeah, right. So that's what's going on in Canada, and it's very frustrating.
I have a
And-
question. Were all those
Thank you for that
Syrian
uplifting report.
were all those Syrian immigrants housed?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You're
that's,
kidding.
That's one of the reasons why the housing shortage.
Oh yeah,
is so bad.
I kind of expected that was.
So all of the immigrants got help, but the actual people that
Nope.
didn't get
Yep,
shit.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, fuck those people.
They
They're not in dire need or anything.
They also the Syrian refugees also got very, very large like payments.
Mhm.
Like when they arrived here, it was like, here's a house,
And here's money.
here's a car, here's money.
Don't blow us up, please.
So do they ever do that for Canadian citizens who've been working hard and trying to make their way normally in society
Oh
or
hell
no?
no.
Okay.
It is
Those
to
don't
scoff.
count.
Yeah, it's like the world has gone mad. We just let probably our Department of State says
Well, they do. Well,
says
that's-
12,000 Haitians into the United States, but it's probably more like 14,000
I should
Haitians.
say. I should
and we
say
gave
they
them money.
do. I should say that we do up here. We do have, we do have we do have programs that do help citizens, but there
Do
were
they
a lot
give,
of people.
give you houses?
They do not give they do not give us they do not no they do not give you houses. They
10
have,
years.
Like, yeah, it seems like it'd be a nice gesture.
They have first time home buyer programs like in our region. They have where they like help you buy a house. And they have
For $1.2 million
Yeah, right.
for a 2-bedroom, 1,100 square foot house.
Bundle. Yeah,
Yeah,
And a
it's nice.
28%
starter
interest
home.
fee.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
No, I want my forever home and I want it now.
Well, that's part of the issue too. But yeah,
I don't care that I'm 22.
when all that lovely Chinese money was coming in, they were sitting around thinking that they were on Easy Street, not recognizing that they were giving away the
farm.
entire
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah.
And
I
now
have-
they're
oh,
left
sorry.
sleeping in a sty.
I have one more thing that I'd like to bitch about, if I may.
Please.
So, I have been thinking to myself lately that this vaccine divide, this quote vaxxed versus anti-vaxxed or not vaxxed, is getting rather ridiculous, because I do not remember. First of all, I don't remember flu shots being mandatory, things like flu shots, and I do remember, and I would like to say, for the mandatory vaccine argument, we already have them. if you want your children to attend public school, you need to have them. However, I don't like the slippery slope that a vaccine passport creates.
First, I'd like to see a vaccine that demonstrates the efficacy of the vaccines that we require for kids to enter schools.
Yeah.
The efficacy of the measles vaccine is significantly more impressive
Yes.
than the efficacy of this current vaccine.
That being said, I do not understand this mentality because I don't remember people saying, if you choose not to get, even when the flu shot first came out, if you choose not to get your flu shot, you're a selfish asshole and you deserve to die at home without medical care.
Well, that's
I don't.
Okay, Jimmy Fallon.
Don't remember hearing anyone say that about the flu shot.
They tried panic porn on us with the last swine flu epidemic, and it didn't work all that well
No, it didn't.
because not enough people got sick. It didn't turn out to be the ooga booga that they told everybody that it was going to be. And statistically speaking, this one has a lot better optics because they've decided to make the optics about this. So if we can take enough pictures of people on ventilators and scare the shit out of people, because if you actually look at the mortality statistics,
the recovery rate
yes,
for influenza is 99.9%.
Yeah.
the
roughly.
recovery
rate.
Yes, and
for influenza, listen to just a second. The recovery rate for influenza is about 99.9%.
yes,
The recovery rate for COVID is 99.78%.
Right.
It's almost exactly the same as the flu.
yes. But panic porn was required because Orange Man bad.
Yeah.
And
Right.
now everybody is hooked on panic porn. And it's, if you want to know why people immediately go to conspiracy theories, let's call them that, like the Great Reset and blah, 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 it's because there has been such a well-orchestrated, politically led campaign to test the theory that people have become so reliant on their illusion of security that they will surrender their liberties. And they have gotten all the positive feedback in that they needed, thanks to the public. I'd like to thank my fellow citizens for being duped by P.T. Barnum dressed up like Chicken Little.
Well, you know,
Good job.
Albert Camus said that the emergency is the alibi of a tyrant.
Yes, it is. It is, and he's not wrong. And this business of, you can't in one breath say that you have a crisis in hospitals with them being underserved and understaffed, and oh my God, the ICUs are full to the gills. They can't decide whether they're full to the gills with COVID patients or whether they're full to the gills with people who took a horse dewormer. But they just change it. Nobody hears it. They just hear, oh my God, full ICU. And then turn around and fire a shit fuck ton of nurses. You just can't do that.
Well, you know what?
But they're doing it, and they're getting away with it because people are fucking stupid.
Yep.
You know what the governor of New York just put in last night or the night before?
Fired a
Monday
bunch
night?
of nurses, yeah.
If you don't get the poke, you don't get.
They got
paycheck?
fired, Jenna.
I know they got fired.
Yeah, you don't have a job. You're done. DONE done.
And you've got geniuses on Twitter saying, well, they really weren't interested in healthcare to begin with. Okay,
I just want
that's fine.
Say one thing, and I think I've said it before, but it's not let's not ask the question of why Hitler did what he did, but why the people let Hitler do what he did,
Well, yeah,
and not repeat.
yeah, you've got a very good point. I mean, Sanguine has made the very good point that it isn't that evil is allowed because good men do nothing. It's that good men are subsumed into believing that the evil is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have seen people.
It's in a good cause.
It's for the children. It's for the this. It's for the that. I mean, suddenly New York Democrats give a shit about grandma. That's pretty amusing to me. Because they sure as shit didn't last year. But the North Carolina fired 125 nurses.
Wonderful.
Yes. Congratulations, North Carolina. You're idiots.
One is reminded with the newfound respect for grandma, I am reminded of the line from Jesus Christ Superstar, where Pilate is saying, "What's this? New respect for Rome, which till now has been noticeably lacking," with the Pharisees saying that this Jesus is an offense to Rome. You have to crucify him.
Mm-hmm. This newfound respect. Yeah.
Newfound a strange new respect.
Yeah, it is. And it's peculiar as shit. Apparently, this new governor of New York is...
Who wasn't elected.
Well, she was elected to lieutenant governor. And when the governor steps down, the lieutenant governor becomes governor. So that's fine.
I know, but she's a cocky SOB.
Yes, she is. She's in competition with Twitmer for who's going to be the most beloved. She was wearing a necklace.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
A necklace that said vaccine.
That had her ID on it
It said vaccine.
Yeah.
I thought it was made out of the skulls of men or something.
No. And it wasn't anal beads like Theresa May used to wear.
God.
It was a vaccine.
Is
what it said, which is as bad as that fucking pillow that Twitmer had of Fauci's face.
What I find fascinating is that in an effort to try and get rid of bad leadership, they end up putting in leadership that is just as bad, if not worse. And it seems like this is just kind of a trend that keeps going and going.
Yeah, if people if you're ever reminded of Weimar Germany, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain what the parallel with Weimar
Well,
Germany
von
is?
Hindenburg was old and a little on the whiffy side, and you ended up with Hitler.
Yep.
He was elected, folks. Everybody loves to remind us that Hitler was elected. They love to remind us of that during Orange Man Bad, because I swear to God, this Donald Trump, they're so convinced he's a fascist. He's the worst fascist in history. Absolutely.
And a racist. And
I mean, he sucks at being fascist is what I mean.
He really does.
Because, yes, Jenna?
He's also very racist because, he said if you don't know who you're voting for, you ain't black. Oh, wait, that wasn't him.
That's right. And, this is the inmates are running.
Poplar's a bad dude.
The inmates are running the asylum, and the public is lapping it up. This is what's making me ill. And the public that isn't lapping it up is so busy either idolizing statues of Donald Trump or running around talking about how cool they think Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene are. I mean, they've got the discernment of turnips themselves.
Yep.
And meanwhile, you have the Republicans who spend, oh my God, they spend like lunatics when they're in power, grandstanding about the debt.
Mm-hmm.
Prospero, you make a great point, and I would just say that I think a lot of the problem that we're having right now is that people want to tear down the statues of people like Robert E. Lee instead of wanting to be more like them. People should want to be more like Robert E. Lee, the man who was Robert E. Lee. Not that they should like slavery or want slavery or anything of the sort. They should want his courage, his stick-to-itiveness, his drive, his intelligence, his common sense, and the idea of pulling down a statue of somebody like that should be hateful, disgusting to them. But they think that's a mark of grace. pulling down a statue because of slavery.
Yeah, and we'll fix
Am I
racism.
wrong?
No,
No.
not at all.
No.
And we'll fix racism this way. And while we're
Sure.
at it, we'll pull down a statue of Columbus that had nothing to do with it, because hurt feelings and
Yeah.
very poor public education.
Yeah, no kidding.
And when the statue of Columbus was pulled down in Richmond, this amused me to no end. There was an argument between like the black folk there and the Indians there as who was the most aggrieved. And I was like, at that point, I was like, would the statue just fall on both of you?
Right?
Yeah.
Because I swear to God, you are going to be. It's the old rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. They are going to be arguing. You know that this is just fine, dog.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be standing there having an argument while the building burns down.
No, the cafe is burning.
Yeah. And it's I mean, I am content to let the building burn with them in it because they are that self-absorbed.
No, we're in that building too.
But we're in the building too. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get water and leave. I'll throw some water on the fire as I leave.
I mean, it's right now I'm building the sheet rope and looking for a stout pole to tie it to and gathering up the people that I know I can start over with on a new island.
Does anyone have a mattress we can throw out first?
You know, and then please try to convince me not to tip over the gasoline before we go out the window. It's just I'm absolutely amazed with how quickly we have devolved into the seagulls and Finding Nemo.
Yes.
It's all I
my
hear.
gosh.
It's all I hear. Mine, constantly.
I'm just waiting for the ostrich or the pelican to Will you shut up?
Well, that's it. There aren't any adults in the building. It's gobsmacking to me. I mean, it's my pronouns. It's my body. It's my body, my choice.
Unless you want to back. Unless you
don't want to get a vaccination. It's I understand that to survive life, a certain amount of cognitive dissonance has to exist because we would be overwhelmed by the vicissitudes of life. So a tiny little part of us is Dr. Pangloss saying, this is the best of all possible worlds. But I've never seen so many people pissed off to live in the best of times.
Mm-hmm.
And they're devolving before my very eyes in age. They've gone from bratty teenagers to screaming, squealing, pants-shitting toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
These people live in a first world country where if you want to go snow tubing or skiing, you don't even have to walk up the thingy. You go on a magic carpet just to tube down the hill.
Yeah, you go up in a nice little elevator.
Elevator go up, elevator go down, elevator go all the way down to the
I don't
ground.
need to go down the hole.
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, it's like really, I think they did all go to Acme University. Because it is clown world. And I keep looking for someone to be making sense.
Like, okay, I saw this disabled person tweet out the other day. You don't have to contribute to society to be worth anything.
Yes,
And I quote tweeted her and I was like, that's patently untrue. There are many ways to contribute to society, and if you choose not to do any of them, you are worthless. And she quote tweeted me with a clown face emoji.
Okay. Are you granted the dignity that we ascribe to all human life? Yes.
Yes.
And you, of course, you don't have to publicly be engaged in your good deeds or any of that kind of thing.
But you have to like do something with your life. Like be a good person to your partner. Like, be a good parent. You know, if you're home because you're disabled and you can't work, but you have a partner that works, attempt to keep the house at least, livable. Like, do something.
Push yourself a little
Anything.
bit. It's
But to choose not to do anything and then expect to be like, no.
lauded for it. Well, that's what happens when you hand trophies out to everybody.
Yeah.
And you tell them they're fine just the way they are.
No,
It's
you're not.
perfectly okay, Timmy, for you to vivisect those squirrels. I know you're a curious little boy.
You just want to see how those things work, don't you?
Yeah.
Now, can I just get people on board for all the people complaining about how racist, sexist, homophobic, we send them to a place that's racist, sexist, homophobic for a year
I agree.
and see how much they want to come back?
I don't know whether we should really put down that carbon footprint, because the C-130s that we'd have to load with people, Jenna, to drop them into Afghanistan would be...
I was just going to say, how about Afghanistan? Great.
It would be...
I was going to say, how about a catapult?
Oh, I like that idea.
Don't even need a seat.
Or would a
clearing
trebuchet be better?
Where is share on my iPhone? I want to play It's Raining Men, or pieces of men.
Just an ocean clearing trebuchet. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I need John Cleese to be the one releasing it, though. I really do need that to happen.
Oh, but I really wanted to do it.
The structures
Just
that
'cause I'm
ensure
psychotic.
conformity. I've been watching what's been going on in Australia recently.
Oh my God.
That is a very scary scenario down there, and they're and New Zealand, I understand, is even worse. They're putting in lots of structures, effectively, parts of society that ensure your conformance to wearing a mask and getting a vaccination.
Or they'll beat the shit out of you, or they'll swarm you when you leave your apartment.
Yeah, what concerns me, my big concern about this, is that, okay, after we get COVID under control, these ways of surveilling people and enforcing behavior from people are still going to remain in place. Bureaucratic inertia will not permit the dismantling of this stuff. If you think this stuff is going away, it's not.
Well, you've heard what they're going to do with the flu vaccine recently, right?
No, what's going on with that?
Apparently, they're looking at developing an mRNA vaccine for the flu, which in of itself would not be too much of a problem, except that
it's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, it's more of the question, is it going to be something where they're going to start enforcing it to be mandatory as well, because they're having trouble distinguishing which type of virus they're dealing with still.
Yeah,
that's kind of the question.
But it's for your own good.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's for your own good, why shouldn't it be mandatory?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going to cooperate with something that's for your own good, aren't you against people and an enemy of, the group of people called the state, enemy of the state, we'll call it?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't people like that be concentrated in a place that is removed away, say a camp?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brought there by train?
Sure.
Cattle train?
Yeah, take them in boxcars. You don't really have to worry about them, because they don't care about their health. Why provide food, clothing and food and that sort of thing. And really,
I assume you read Brave New World, Skep.
I have parts of it memorized, Harry.
The key aspect of this is that Huxley was onto something. Sort of like, I kind of think that Orwell saw a piece of what was going to happen, and Huxley saw a piece of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They they both have little glimpses into what the dystopian future was, and Wells got some of it right. A lot of these guys, these smart guys looking at the future, got it right. In Brave New World, you have a technocratic society where everything is extremely managed and manipulated down to reproduction.
And you're classed by your intelligence.
You're classed by your intelligence. There's alpha, betas, gammas, and deltas. Because I guess they need landscaping or something. I don't know.
No,
anyway,
that's right.
Sorry, terrible comment of mine. But you don't necessarily want. You can't really have a functioning society with everybody kind of with their head in the clouds, navel gazing all the time. You need people that can actually do stuff and be happy doing things that other people would find boring. Even now with police and a lot of police departments, they won't hire you to be a cop if your IQ is too high. Then higher than that, you can be a detective. But they wouldn't put you on as a beat cop if you had 130 IQ.
Yeah.
This is not my opinion. This is just a thing that happens. But no, in Brave New World, you had the technocratic, highly controlled, highly regulated, high-tech society where everybody, there were all sorts of rules, like sex. People, it was wrong to withhold sex from other people. It was also wrong to monopolize somebody's sexual time. Right, so it was that egalitarian. Even something that's like a basic need, like that, this society was arranged at that level of equality. So, but the people who didn't fit into this sort of lived in this lawless outland. They were sort of the others, and so I kind of fear that's sort of where things are going if we're looking at dystopian stuff, because you can actually have two societies. One for the people who sort of follow the rules, who benefit from all the modern medicine and other stuff and wacky ideas, and then have a completely different one for the people who say, get off my lawn, you took my job, and then they just live off and have stills and stuff in the woods.
Are you saying we're gonna be living like Demolition Man, where one society lives
Not
in the
Demolition
sewers
Man.
eating rat burgers?
No,
and
I'm
the
not
other
saying
folks-
Demolition Man, but you can have a two-tiered society, those who conform and those who don't. And there's
Yes.
benefits to each of those things.
Yeah.
Right? There's you may be less well off in material goods, but you might want to voluntarily be there because freedom.
Yeah.
What happens when the freedom people end up outproducing the other people and end up with the better stuff?
Well, if the conforming people have control of all of the major means of production, not to go all Marx on you, it's hard for that to happen.
Yeah.
But they may be a lot richer in terms of being able to like have their own kids, raise their own families, make their own art, say what
Think
they want to
for
say,
themselves.
think for themselves,
Yeah.
sing whatever song they want, not have sex with people they find unappealing.
Yes.
So I think I don't think Brave New World gets nearly enough credit, because we often focus on the dystopian aspects of the high tech part, the haves, and the division between the alphas and the betas and the gammas and the deltas, but people rarely look at what the outsiders were like in that novel, because to some people that's the uninteresting part of it, and I don't think so at all.
I would agree with you. The horror of Brave New World was that you didn't get to own your own stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even own your own body, really.
You didn't own your own, yeah, and the idea of having an exclusive love affair with someone, having someone special, was anathema to that society.
Well, it wouldn't be fair. You would be creating inequity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, well, people want what they want when they want it. BP was talking about something earlier, and I can't remember exactly what the framing was, but the answer was because now the press is blatantly narrative driven. What happened is they went from being journalists of some stripe, and of course people who own news things have their opinions about stuff. It's like, well, if I'm going to make these payrolls, I'm J. Jonah Jameson and I don't like Spider-Man, so we're going to put Spider-Man on the front page and talk about how bad he is. There was that level of sort of stuff, but now it's not about news, it's about narrative.
Yeah.
And it's worse than that, because it isn't just a narrative that they think will sell stuff. It's a narrative where they're basically giving each other a reach around with the government and big business.
yes,
It's very, very, very bad, because not only are they not doing their job, but they're doing something that's actually counter to your best interests.
I wanted to read just a couple of sentences from Brave New World. Mr. Scoggin, one of the book's characters, describes an quote impersonal generation of the future that will take the place of nature's hideous system. In vast state incubators, rows upon rows of gravid bottles will supply the world with the population it requires. Family system will disappear. Society, sapped at its very base, will have to find new foundations, and Eros, beautifully and irresponsibly free, will flit like a gay butterfly from flower to flower through a sunlit world. That's utopianism par excellence right there. And
That sounds horrible.
Utopian fantasies inevitably fail. They not only fall short. There's no utopia that's a utopia for everyone.
No.
Okay, and that's why I'm such a fan of liberty. Is you should have the maximum amount of freedom and resources available to you that, according to your own initiative and ability, capability, drive, moxie, to fashion your own utopia, to fashion the world you want to live in a place of where you're protected and your liberty is protected.
I would agree with that.
But we're not doing that very well right now,
No.
in my opinion.
And
I
So
have
there.
another thought for you, Skep.
All right.
All right, thought number 2 before BP tells us she's got to go to bed.
Right.
You called it, Harry.
Yeah. Oh, damn it. The thought just popped out of my head. No, now I remember.
Okay.
Or thought number
So-
one.
I've been thinking about sort of the inevitable collapse of the United States. I mean, because as I've had all this time to do that.
Yeah.
And I realized that the United States, in some weird way, we're almost like that guy in your family, like the uncle that was always hardworking and saved his money and stuff, but then suddenly won the lottery.
Mhm.
And now all the relatives are coming around with their hands out saying, it's not fair that you have so much and you won't give me some.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And because the uncle feels like, or has convinced themselves that they, or has been convinced that they didn't really do the hard work, they feel guilty. It's like an affluenza type of thing.
Yeah.
And we end up just going, oh, sure, we can't take in enough immigrants. And it doesn't matter if they are going to take 1 or 2 or 3 generations to get to the point where they're, producing a net positive amount of income, into the system. Whatever that number is, it doesn't matter. It'll all just work out in the end because we're big and rich and powerful and we can do anything.
Yeah.
We really can't
No.
do just anything. I mean, there are a lot of things we can do to make the world a better place. And we are rich enough and powerful enough that we can choose to do things like that. But we cannot just accept unlimited migration. We can't just accept having a large group within the country itself of natural-born citizens not contributing.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot have like 30% of people engaged in social loafing. Now, communists were able to solve this problem. What they would do is, if they found out that you didn't show up for work, they would go pick you up and they would beat the crap out of you. This is a thing that would happen in places like Romania under Ceausescu.
Mm-hmm.
They had a solution to the social loafing problem. And all these people that think we're just going to build this state with this beautiful safety net and nobody will ever go hungry again and school's going to be free and whatever their vision is, they don't realize that there comes a point when people go, well, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to work because we can't do it, and we have to find a way to get people to do what we want them to do. And that's when the boot comes down on the neck, as we're seeing with the vaccine stuff. They tried the nice way, and then when that didn't work, here comes the boot.
Mhm. No, you're not wrong. That's
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Exactly.
until conformance is complete.
Yeah, and just looking at the physical altercations in Australia. Australia has decided that it wants to be a martial law state, and they're welcome to it. You know, as some wag said, remember it was a criminal colony. That meant there were police. It kind of looks like those genes won the competition. BP, I'm sorry. I know you want to shill and...
It's all good. So tomorrow is Wednesdays with Skep.
Yay.
So that'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, back on the Blind Press channel. And I will also be on Twitch tomorrow night at around 11 p.m. Eastern. Also, please go to teespring.com/myeyes and pick up yourself a My Eyes coffee mug. I'm trying to sell at least 50 of them. If we get to 50 mugs sold, Pink Hollow will make new mugs with the other sets of eyes that we have laying around. So there will be more mugs with different colored eyes if we get over 50 sold. And of course, Halloween is coming up, so an eyeball mug is, you know, a great Halloween thing.
No kidding.
I just can't do it.
Let's see. Also, remember to come by on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Star Trek stream. We will be talking about the captains and each of their brushes with, I almost want to say villainry, and the way that they come back from it.
When
Because
Picard became the Borg.
some of the captains get pretty damn villainous. Cisco.
Yeah, very much.
I want my Tantalus field.
More
damn
so
it.
than when Picard became the Borg.
That wasn't his fault, though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about, like, actual actions and choices that the captains made to that led them down really, really dark paths.
Janeway's probably going to get a few.
Yeah,
Both.
The person
Janeway's
that hired Will Wheaton.
the person who hired Will Wheaton. Yeah,
Computer, erase that entire last entry log.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. In the pale moonlight. Yep.
Yeah.
The pale moonlight is. I love that.
So you're not.
That's going to
wanna
be
miss
big
that
fun.
episode. Yeah.
Be sure you come out and see that one, guys.
So thank you to Skep for having me on tonight.
A
And,
pleasure as always. Thanks for being here, and
Yeah.
go get some sleep. And I'll see you tomorrow on Wednesdays with Skep.
For sure. Have a great night, everybody.
All right.
Night,
Bye.
buddy.
Night.
See you later. So, Harry, you had said that you had some things that you might want to talk about tonight.
Well, I've talked about some of them. I have sort of a big idea thing. I don't know.
I would
you wanna
love to
go
talk
into that.
about a big idea.
Okay,
I need something good.
I don't know if you've noticed this. There's a lot of these conversations we have where we're saying, I don't understand why these people don't understand X.
Yeah.
Where X is some sort of thing. And we all have these conversations all the freaking time. And I realized that, well, I've come to realize that there's this thing that people do where they're talking, what I call talking past each other. It's almost like you're having two separate conversations. The words kind of overlap, but the meaning behind them and what people are actually talking about doesn't really mesh up.
Kind of
And when you get it-
person A is talking and person B is reloading. They're not really listening to person A. They're getting their stuff ready.
Yeah,
to
it'd be
launch.
like somebody. Yeah, the words are the same, but they really aren't even on the same page at all. And I have a lot of these conversations with people because I'm surrounded by smart, decent people who just happen to be in the progressive bubble.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I get
was
this
gonna
all
say
the
thank
freaking
you.
time.
That's not me.
No, not you this time. So
However, I am smart, intelligent, and witty.
So I have put several things sort of together. Maybe it's a bullshit theory. I don't know.
No, I want to hear it.
But I remember well, I mean, you can always make a bullshit theory to fit any number of data points, right? But I've had conversations with them about things like Confederate flags, in the other part of the country. And they seem to be, even though they're in California, seem to be deeply concerned about things happening in North or South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is something that was really genuinely getting them worked up. A lot of people are really worked up about the Texas abortion thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, first of all, you're not a woman. Second of all, you know, you're past the age where you're going to be having any kids. Third, fourth, fifth, you can come up with a million reasons why it doesn't affect them. But they care deeply about this stuff.
Because it's the principle that's important to them. They're
Right.
pure as to self-interest, but they are creatures of principle, Harry.
And then you look at Slow Biden, and Slow Biden's got ideas about things, why there should be like a federal mask mandate. You know, there should be
Sure.
a federal Department of Education.
Sure.
There should be some sort of minimum standard that applies to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea that we live in a confederacy and you can have different standards in different places seems just like, oh, no. Won't somebody think of the children?
Yeah. Won't somebody think of the states' rights?
And then, you know, I tie that.
Wait.
I mean, we had this original debate with, you know, at the founding of the country when we had the whole Federalist debate, which culminated in, of course, a fine duel with Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing that happened. And then...
Weehawken, New Jersey.
Right. And you can look at European history. There was the rise of nationalism because the nation state was a fairly new idea. This is something that we've only had around for a few hundred years. As human beings go, the nation state is a fairly new concept.
Yes, it is.
And then the Industrial Revolution led us to the point where you could take people out of the workforce, educate them, and instill a national ethos into them.
Mm-hmm.
You take all these things and put them together, and what I see is people with very different sorts of mindsets about like the nature of man and the role of government and all this sort of stuff. And when you have a conversation with people about something like, say, the minimum wage, it gets really interesting because I had this conversation with a friend of mine, really smart guy, decent guy, one of my best friends. And he just could not wrap his head around the fact that a national minimum wage that would be a living wage, quote unquote, their terms, not mine, in a lot of the more expensive states is unworkable in other states. Well, shouldn't there be a national minimum? Why? Why should there be a national minimum?
This is actually something I kind of thought about too, with because I went and found the old clip where Bernie Sanders was speaking at a Republican convention, and suggesting a $15 million minimum wage is not a crazy idea, right? And everybody was shouting, no, it's not. It's a great idea. And these are conservative people, supposedly. And it was just kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of things. It's a very weird concept where we're at right now with the idea that a nationally federal minimum wage would be or an increased federal minimum wage, I should say, because we already have the federal minimum wage. That people are in support of that. It's a very strange thing to me. So
Everybody
Can't
thinks.
have to go.
Okay.
Bye, Jenna.
Bye, Jenna. Thanks for being here, sweetie.
It's because everybody thinks where they live is like where everybody lives. A lot of this thought is driven by urbanites and suburbanites who live in very similar surrounds. You can move from Atlanta to Chicago to Dallas to LA to San Francisco to Boston to New York to Washington and functionally live in a place that was wildly similar to the place you lived before.
The United States of Generica.
The Urbania, if you know what I mean. There's a trans-Urbania in this country where cities are all very, very similar. You have to get out of the city to recognize the differences. Suburbs are not quite the same. So a lot of these people really are city dwellers, where the city services are all pretty much cookie cutter.
Mhm.
The city governments are very much cookie cutter, because if you look at most of the major cities, they are controlled by the same political party. The education system is very cookie cutter. So they don't know anything about the actual country in which they live. And they consider all the people that don't live in these urban environments lesser.
Yeah.
They genuinely think these people are their inferiors. They are the Ubermensch, and everyone else is the Untermensch. And it's evident in their words, their constant helpfulness toward the unfortunate is constantly being couched in terminology that implies, why, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an in-group, out-group preference.
Yes.
Because conservative people do virtue signaling too.
Oh, yes.
Now, I'm not trying to, go after Skep, but you could say that Skep, when he talks about liberty and all the things you talked about before, of course Skep wants people to know that he's in favor of liberty, right? But it's still like a signal to people that agree with him. And we all do the same thing. We all want to know we're on the right team. It's a way of identifying that we're on the right team.
As to whether or not it's signaling, though, wouldn't that come down to motivation? I mean, it may happen to signal to other people that, yes, I'm pro-liberty. I'm very, straightforward about that. But as far as whether the reason that I'm saying it is to signal members of my group, do some in-group signaling to say, hey, this is my purity level. This is that isn't what motivates me to say that. It is truly nothing but a love of liberty causes me to want to proclaim that.
There are a lot of people for whom it is performative, and then there are people for whom it is absolutely it's essentially part of who they are.
Right.
Harry. So it's not, there are people who have extremely strong beliefs. I am highly prejudiced about this. I think a large number of progressives, liberals, are highly performative people, in that they are doing this for the approval and the access that it grants them.
I don't think signaling, the way I'm using it, it's not meant to be negatively valenced. A lot of times when we talk about signaling, we say that it's a negative thing. But we do signal all the time. We say things because we want people to know they can trust us. We say things because we want people to know they can date us. We say things for a whole lot of reasons. It isn't necessarily manipulative.
But we say other things because we absolutely mean them and don't really give a shit how others respond to it.
No, absolutely. That's true.
Both things can be true at the same time. I'm realizing now what Harry's saying.
Yeah.
That in saying what I say about liberty, I do end up signaling to people, and maybe that is important to me, that people not mistake me for a communist, not mistake me for a totalitarian loving socialist. That's probably not an unfair statement. Now that I hadn't thought about it in those terms, Harry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Gioco.
I was going to say there's also another reason for it too. If you're doing just civil discussion, because I remember this is not the smartest thing I'd ever done, and I don't recommend anybody else do this. But
this is gonna be good.
When I was working at my old job stocking store, I had a coworker and manager, and we were all chatting about basically where we leaned on the political spectrum. I started off with my coworker saying they leaned Democrat. My manager said that they leaned libertarian up until more recently they started going more Democrat, but that was just because they said that their family that they grew up in was pro-gun, and they felt like the Democrats were against guns. But I guess they felt like that had changed. And I had started to say, yeah, well, I lean conservative. And again, the whole point was, since we were having this discussion, I felt like, it relatively friendly terms, maybe try and have a good dialogue. Immediately shut down the conversation. So, but I think that's the other reason we do it too, is, we want, try and have a meeting of the minds too, even if we disagree, try and, let people know that, yeah, we may have differing points, but we're willing to have that conversation.
Humans are social animals, geodes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The moment we stopped living in groups of about 12, where we just had and somebody took a stick and they made a line in the ground and put some seeds in it and covered it up and waited for the rain to come, and we moved into cities that had thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of people, everything changed. From our gut biome to all sorts of other things. The people who couldn't cope with that kind of living went out and lived out into the hinterlands, and most of them probably died because it sucks living in the hinterlands. It's not good for your survival to be Daniel Boone.
Oh yeah.
But it's so we all feel like we want to be part of a group. And the weird thing about a lot of progressives is that they actually are consciously cultivating a non-in-group preference. Normally, humans try to benefit the people that are in their own group, what they consider to be their in-group. This is where discrimination and prejudice and a lot of stuff come in historically. The weird thing about the progressives is they have countered some of those not particularly nice things about human nature by going so far to the point that they now prefer out-group. And this is not something that humans normally do. This is actually a very abnormal circumstance.
Oh yeah, no, I know, and that's the why it's kind of not necessarily shocking. I mean, I'd heard stuff like this had happened before, but it was surprising in that, I'm glad that that was about as far as it went in that particular scenario, because I mean I've heard much more worse stories where people have gone fired, shortly after expressing more not far left viewpoints, but it was just kind of a interesting conversation at the time, and I think it's just one of those things where I do think that's partially also why we say, oh well, I'm libertarian, or oh, I'm pro-choice, and all sorts of stuff. And when we're just having dialogue, it's partially to try and help people understand that hey, there's sane people in some of these with some of these ideas as well, and unfortunately you always hear the loudest points or loudest voices, and it doesn't necessarily always work out the way you'd hope with meeting of minds. So,
are you familiar with Jonathan Haidt?
No.
Haidt. I'll fix that for you. There's a lot of stuff that we think is just sort of free will, that we are just these sort of rational actors. But in terms of our disposition, sort of which way we lean, not the decisions we make, but the inclination to go one way or the other, a lot of that is baked into our DNA. There are distinct differences between the way conservatives and liberals or progressives react to certain types of psychological tests. Conservatives are much more driven by revulsion. They find something that they find so objectionable it almost makes them feel ill. Conservatives get grossed out by stuff. And you see totally different responses on tests from most liberals. I mean, on average. A lot of stuff like risk-taking has a genetic component to it. So, the kinds of lives that your ancestors led and what drew them to each other to raise families, influences who you are. You carry the good and the bad that your ancestors sort of selected for.
Yeah. Well, isn't that not to kind of throw it too off course, but wasn't that also some of what like Charles Murray was trying to study too, if I remember correctly?
That sounds familiar, and Skep probably knows, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Not to get in too far into Charles Murray, but yeah, that's definitely his area. Jonathan Haidt is really an engaging character, in my opinion. Really worth knowing a lot about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's a very good speaker, and he's very good at sort of breaking things down and kind of bridging the gap between people. Because I'm totally serious about this talking past each other thing. Once you're in a conversation with somebody and you realize that you are not having the same conversation as the other person is,
Yeah.
it's a great point to come to, because you either have to change your tactics or you just cut and run. Because there's no point having a conversation with somebody who's talking about something completely different than what you are. And just every now and then hearing, they're just hearing a word that you say that sounds like a word that they use, and they just go squirrel, and that's the extent of it.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the things too. Is I'm kind of following new discourses a lot more, and what's his name? The guy who's running that. It starts with an L. He's the guy out of Tennessee, of the original trio who did the papers on the fake papers on feminist.
James Lindsay.
James Lindsay, thank you.
Yeah, the grievance study crowd.
No, grievance study. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's basically been building an entire encyclopedia of words that are typically used in jargon today, and explaining what it means from a progressive mindset and how it's applied, and what they say versus what they mean, and stuff like that. And so it's been something I've been kind of looking at a little bit off and on, but not too seriously. But
there's a fair bit of opposite day stuff to me with the left, Harry, getting at when you were talking about deliberate outgroup choices.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the name of tolerance, which they seem to have a very self-sacrificial view of tolerance, or equity, it's a little bit like what Skep and I have called the suicide Jew, the person who supports BDS. Even though they're Jewish.
The Jewish person who says, I'm anti-Zionist.
Anti-Zionist, yeah. And I mean,
for fuck's sake.
Well, that's why I call them suicide Jews, because they're actively suicidal if that's how they approach things. But they have been taught in the name of tolerance to... Well, I'm trying to remember how this was phrased, but Bill Russell, the center for the Boston Celtics in the 1960s and very early 70s, had said, show me a man without prejudice and I'll show you a man without taste.
Yes.
Whereas, the judgment exists. We need to make judgments for our survival. It's something built into us where we make very quick assessments, and in-group, out-group preference has a great deal to do with that. We recognize instinctually. Now, when people are masquerading as something that they are not, they're imposters in many ways, I find, on the left. They do not practice what they preach. Words do not mean what they mean to me. Words they use like tolerance, which would indicate that one can be civil and pleasant toward people who hold polar opposite views to you in the interest of social lubricant, whereas they are highly tolerant of antisocial behaviors all over the place. But you express a political view they don't like, and they will burn the witch all over you.
Yeah, they are worried about, and my friends are worried about my immortal soul, and I'll try not to talk about politics. And then the question will come up. They'll just insert some little thing, just to check to see if Harry's soul is too far gone yet.
There is a great deal of religious zealotry wrapped up in this. It's when you give up believing in a god, you create a new one. And they have created the god of progressivism and the gods of science, the scientism that we're seeing surrounding everything now. Follow the science. Well, there is conflict within the scientific community. No, those are heretics. Is almost the immediate reply. They're not that well versed to know what a heretic actually is, but anyone that does not conform is the apostate. They started using religious language with climate change denier. And that they started using that language very early on.
And they hate the climate change apostates.
Absolutely. They
really hate those guys.
They are embracing Islam to the point that they're beginning to act like Islam.
Prejudice is prejudice.
Wildly religious in their scenarios. And
yes, they are.
They have there is a code, a very clear code. They have their Jesuits, they have their Inquisition, and the auto de fe has spoken.
Do you want to explain what you mean by they have their Jesuits?
The stormtroopers of God, the enforcers of the faith,
kind of the SS.
Yeah, I mean they're the storm
or the SD.
I call them the Stormtruppen.
The Schutzstaffel.
For Gott, I mean they're very, very much the enforcers of what the religion is.
Mm-hmm.
They are also probably some of the best educators on the planet. I'm highly conflicted about the Jesuits because many, many Jesuits are extremely open-minded when it comes to training the mind of young people. They will engage in debate. They're no longer anywhere near the best friend of the Inquisitors that they were. But if a whole herd of Jesuits showed up in your town, you'd sweat.
This is a group of people within the Catholic Church who had the temerity to call themselves the Society of Jesus.
Yes. They were the self-appointed purists. And,
boy howdy.
And the only person within Protestantism, I think, to get close to their spectacular self-importance was Cromwell.
Charles Spurgeon.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as a political figure,
okay.
Cromwell,
pure religious. Yeah, Cromwell certainly was.
Cromwell was a fun fucker of the First Order, and
he was truly
and is murderous about it too. The Jesuits, same thing. They'll kill you if you don't convert. They'll kill you if you don't comply. There was a lot of performative nature during that time period in the Catholic Church. The Counter-Reformation is not a very pretty period. The period leading into the Counter-Reformation, because you had people like Torquemada.
The Counter-Reformation happened for a reason.
It had to.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, there's a small tragedy there. There was a reforming gentleman by the name of Jimenez in Spain, and he unfortunately died, and Torquemada kind of took his place. Yeah. And that was
Torquemada did not start out evil,
No, he didn't, but neither
he was just kind of innocent.
Neither did the guys in the Mitchell and Webb skit. If you're doing it for the good of the faith, you're doing it for the good of the faith. And that's why you have people making public statements that unvaccinated individuals should be denied health care.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it for the good of the faith. And if you convince, if people, oddly enough, replace, they go into a void with no religion, and then they find their new religion. They are more religious than any person who was already in that religion. Mm-hmm. Converts are are very zealous, and look at what happened with Atheism Plus. Look at those people. Look at who they are. They're not nice people.
No, they're all Karens.
They couldn't exist without another God. And
exactly.
And the God was their own sense of virtue.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
they have their system of norms that they must force conformance to, so that
Chris-
they feel better about their universe.
Christy Winters is a mother superior. I mean, if you look at her and what's his face, that dipshit that they're all buddy with. Oh my god, I can't think
The
of his name.
potato. Yeah.
He's just a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Can't think of his name. I can see his face.
It'll come to me. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about, but people often just sort of refer to him as the potato. He's like a giant potato of a human being. And I cannot remember his name. He's one of the progressives that will actually take the time to sort of talk with people, but much like Christy Winters does not argue honestly. She argues it's all sophistry with her.
Yes.
She doesn't really care about the truth or logic or, God forbid, changing her mind about anything or learning anything. She just cares about the win. And by the win, I mean the greater good at the end of the day. By any means necessary.
Oh, for sure.
She's a true believer. And you can't really have conversations with people that are like that.
No.
I mean, anybody who's willing to talk to you in good faith, like I'm lucky enough that my progressive friends will usually talk to me in good faith. Although I do remember at one point angrily telling one of them when I lost my cool, like, show me where it is in the Bill of Rights or Enlightenment values where group rights come from. Stop talking to me about group rights. They don't exist. That doesn't even live in the framework that we're talking about.
But, you know, there is religious foundational history to progressivism. A lot of it does come out of Methodism. In the late 19th century, the social justice movement arose out of that.
Yeah, Kevin Logan, I think, is who we're thinking of. Faithless pointed it out. At least that's who I'm thinking of.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is a miserable shit, but I'm actually talking about one of those people who will give miserable, annoying lectures. He's just hideously all of them are...
You mean the intellectual firepower behind Atheism Plus, that idiot? I'm trying to think. There's so many of them. You're really not narrowing it down all that much.
I know, and I wish I could think of his name. It's just he's so gross to me that I kind of just went, no. And I
talking about Kevin Logan or any?
No. I mean, he is a participant in this, but he's not one of the gurus. And this guy's one of their gurus.
Well, we're talking about one of the original Atheism Plus Dirty Dozen, right?
I certainly think he came out of that group, yeah, but it's not Carrier.
Oh yeah, Richard Carrier is who I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know. There are just so many dirtbags to
Steve Shives or
No. I'm talking about somebody that actually presents themselves as an intellect. Please.
Well, yeah.
No, that's where Carrier came up. I'm out of ideas, I'm afraid.
Yeah, this guy's just absolutely dreadful, and I'm trying to find it and I can't. So it's.
I'll just toss a name out there, Sarah Silverman. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, no. This person's even more horrible than Sarah Silverman.
Wow. Okay.
Sarah Silverman is not the worst.
I know. I'm just having fun.
She's slowly starting to figure out that maybe she might not be 100% right about stuff. I don't think she's going to go full Rose McGowan, but yeah.
I mean, this guy's he's a fraud of an intellect. I mean, truth be told, but
not PZ Myers.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah.
PZ Myers is who I was thinking of. He is just a contemptible turd. I watched him try to be convincing, and it was just like, you're terrible at this. You really are. You think far too highly of yourself, and you don't have. He's a bear of very little brain, trying to pass himself off as an intellect. Hitchens would destroy a PZ Myers.
Hitchens could destroy most people, to be fair, but.
Well, yes, because I think Hitchens.
He's a rhetorician.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he would just call him a sanctimonious twat, which he is. And it's funny that I use the word sanctimonious, but think about those Atheism Plus people. They're sanctimonious.
Well, there was Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, I think it was what it was. And it was a show that was largely a science blog. And it was the doctor, Novella, I can't remember his first name, but and then a couple of his brothers, and Rebecca Watson.
Uh-huh.
And Rebecca Watson would come on, and then you would hear it. I used to listen all the time, and over time, Rebecca just started getting, I don't know, call it what you want, feisty, uppity, annoying. And it was just where she'd just sort of sigh, and you could just hear her rolling her eyes at the brothers if they'd make some sort of remark that wasn't PC enough.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it just sort of split. So you ended up with Stephen Novella, Dr. Stephen Novella, and Harriet Hall over in sort of the fact-based, like we actually have technical degrees and we do evidence-based medicine. And then just sort of oh, look at us talk about how stupid Christians are while we wear lingerie and drink a lot out of giant cups. You know, it was that whole sort of celebutard Rebecca Watson bullshit
Oh
crowd.
my God, yes.
Just terrible to think that I ever thought about, wanting to meet a lot of these people. I met Christopher Hitchens once, and that was
Did you really?
quite the thing. Yeah, we didn't have like a long conversation or anything, but I actually was late for a book signing, and because I got tied up with work, and I showed up after the book signing, and I basically ran into him and a couple other people. They were doing an interview with him, and then there were a couple people from the crowd talking to him, and I just hung out and talked with everybody and listened mostly for a while. I mean, I missed the lecture, but I got to spend about a half an hour in the presence of Christopher Hitchens listening to him do his thing firsthand.
Hitchens got to spend some time in presence of somebody a lot smarter than he is.
Christopher Hitchens has quite the toolkit.
Oh, yeah.
When he would want to make a point, he would dig into the literary background that he had. He would also had rhetorical skills. He was very sharp, and he had a lot of extensive sort of historical knowledge.
Well, yeah.
So he was a force to be reckoned with because he could sort of put somebody in their place really easily just to let you know where you were on the education or whichever pecking scale you thought was important. And he could do it, but it's not like he wasn't monumentally wrong about a lot of stuff when he was younger.
Well,
I do like the fact that he would admit when he was wrong, like the whole thing with the waterboarding.
Yeah.
Do you recall that incident? He's like, "Oh, waterboarding's no big deal. I'll let you waterboard me." And then after he's like, "Yeah, that was torture.
Yeah.
Forget what I said. I was wrong."
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think his brothers ever said he's wrong about anything. I don't trust people who can't admit that they're wrong.
His brother is a sociopath, in my opinion. Just my opinion. I think the guy has got some serious psychological damage.
I find him distinctly dislikable, and I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Absolutely.
He's actively unpleasant for his own pleasure. And
yes,
that's the
sociopathy.
Part. Yeah,
that's the part I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's abusive to people, and he enjoys it. Hitchens. Here's the thing with Hitchens. He would occasionally try to, as with all rhetoricians, if you cannot baffle them with brilliance, befuddle them with bullshit.
Yep.
Hitchens was not a logician, and it showed. He would gish gallop the fuck out of people, and but it was impressive because he was very, very good at it.
It was always ripping good fun.
Oh, it was wonderful because
to listen to.
The texture of words, the cadence of his speech, his vocabulary.
And that rich voice he had, too.
Yes, he had a marvelous, marvelous speaking voice.
A lot of received pronunciation, just beautiful.
It was
accent.
Absolutely adorable. That it had any substantive, logical quality to it.
Who cares?
Very often, no, but it was still a delight, and it certainly was far better than listening to a moron like Michael Eric Dyson attempt to gish gallop someone like
Michael Eric Dyson.
Stephen Fry.
Okay, I have a little treat for the crowd here. Oh, let's see. I guess I can't put it there. Where did it go? Here is Christopher Hitchens giving his unmoderated opinion of Hillary Clinton.
Oh, this is glorious.
If you're not acquainted with not Hillary Clinton, Christopher Hitchens, you should check this out. You will find it a very enjoyable 7 minutes. No, I put it in the
Oh,
public chat.
I thought you wanted to show us something. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7 minutes would be a little bit long.
https://yout.be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no.
It was glorious.
No, it was fun. He was wrong about stuff all the time, but he at least was capable of admitting when he was wrong about stuff. There's a bunch of great Hitchens stuff. There's a bunch of great Buckley stuff. There's a bunch of great... there's a lot of older sort of historical people that are well worth a look. But in terms of people who are actually alive, that you could do worse than checking out a lot of stuff that Jonathan Haidt said.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
His heterodox academy, that idea, is valuable. You know, it.
Why don't you explain what that means?
Well, heterodox is the opposite of orthodox.
Well,
It's orthodox means, you know, of a fixed belief structure that is codified, and heterodox is a mixed bag. Less structure, allowing people to bring up discussion and argument, present problems and solutions that are not in fashion, currently approved of, outside of the accepted orthodoxy. That's the only way I know how to explain it. And the fact
that's fine. Opinions or doctrines at variance with
he wants
an
to
official
bring,
or orthodox position. That's fine.
He wants to bring in other independent thinkers, people who do not belong to a fixed camp, or who are willing to listen to people from the other camp who are arguing in good faith, or presenting at least in good faith.
We're talking about Jonathan Haidt?
Jonathan Haidt.
Haidt, yeah.
Okay.
He's a very, very interesting man. And he is a critter much more of the left than I would consider myself to be. But I'm going to have respect for him because he's got his reasons. He's at least more articulate at explaining them.
Well, it's kind of like a Brett and Heather Weinstein.
Yeah.
Well, or Eric Weinstein. So.
Eric in particular. I like Brett and I like Brett and Heather, but I have a fondness for Eric Weinstein that I think comes from his kind of smart assery. He's just got, like Bogosian has, just this kind of Eric Weinstein rolls his eyes, which I kind of like. Brett would worry that would offend you. You know, Brett's a little bit more caring than Eric is in that regard.
There's a clip from a Dark Horse podcast that was released today I think you'll like, because it's Heather kind of getting a little snarky. So I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah,
I linked a clip from Haidt from 4 years ago where he was talking about sort of this difference in personality. And I really like this talk. I like Thomas Sowell's book, A Conflict of Visions.
Mm-hmm.
I think what is it? Is it Zen philosophy where there's the idea of the Satori, where you have sort of this revelation that changes your view of the world or the way you think about the world? I find Satoris to be really fantastic. It's one thing to learn an interesting fact. It's another thing to sort of go through life just kind of being mindful and paying attention and realize something that you didn't realize before. To have that revelation, some sort of Satori. And I think that Haidt, for some people, could do that. He will tell you things that will change the way you look at the world if you give him a chance. That's a pretty powerful endorsement. It's not just that he's funny or has interesting facts. He will literally make you think about things differently than you do now. That's a great thing.
It at least be more, perhaps just even more open to it. You know, I God bless Jordan Peterson for his struggle.
Yeah, he's putting in the work, isn't he?
He is. He's trying. He's trying to, through the applied aspect of his discipline, to look at similar things in traits in people and how it impacts their performance, their success, their frustrations, all the things he would have encountered as a clinician. And he has a unique viewpoint, and I despise the way he's been treated by people of very little depth. The problem I have with Jordan Peterson is he is very much a creature of inside his own head. And it can be difficult watching him interact sometimes with people who are more naturally gregarious.
Personable.
Yeah, because he rabbit holes himself an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
But his conversation with Stephen Fry was a delight.
Absolutely, it was.
All conversations with Stephen Fry.
Stephen Fry are a delight.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
That's why some people talk about him as a national treasure for the UK. He's just such a nice man.
But by the way, if you want to treat, just I know this is a bit of a rabbit hole, but just the first time Stephen Fry ever met Robin Williams on television, look that up on YouTube. I rewatch that every once in a while. It's just so darn funny, and the two of them interacting to just have that much imagination and creativity and intellect in one place. I'm not overselling it either. It's really worth watching. I'll just leave that there, and it's easy to find on YouTube. Anyway, sorry, I kind of derailed everything.
That does sound like a delight because Fry is so delightfully quick. I mean, he's a remarkably well-educated man.
Oh, yeah.
He is actually a towering intellect, I think.
Literally.
Hugh Laurie's no dope.
Yeah, the two of them together, I know they're old friends, are just
extraordinary.
They're part of a little cabal. I mean, because basically it was Fry and Laurie and Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh. Mm-hmm. They're all part of that same sort of class.
They all
at university.
Yes.
They were all friends back then, and so they all really know each other pretty well. That's a pretty fun group to hang out with.
Oh, yeah. I imagine. A modern day, what was the name of the society, Prospero? What am I thinking of? The old English... it's one of those Oxbridge, the thing that Tolkien and all that lot were a part of.
Mm-hmm.
C.S. Lewis, I can't think the something society, and I can't remember.
But the nice thing is a lot of those people have senses of humor that would place them in the Algonquin Round Table as well.
Yep.
Yes.
They're highly where you're born.
And they're also highly accessible individuals.
Yeah.
They are not snobs.
They're not jerks that won't.
No, they're not. They're not jerks.
With somebody underneath them.
Correct. They're just brilliantly classically educated. They are liberals of classical tradition in that regard. They are
classical liberals, even.
Yeah, well, they're.
Dare I say it?
Yeah, I mean, Fry is a bit of a leftist.
He's a lefty.
Yeah, and he knows he's a loon, but he also knows what motivates him in that direction. That he is highly emotive.
Yeah.
And he admits it. Oh. He is an emotional mess in that regard. And
you ever heard him say, if I ever met God, what's the first question he would ask him?
What is it about childhood cancer?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's the childhood cancer. Why?
Yeah, he's an extremely compassionate man.
Yeah,
And
very compassionate.
it's actually been to his detriment. Personally, he's struggled with a lot of with issues over time. He also struggles with his mental health, about which he is also very honest. That's not a mockery of him at all. He is
It's a lot of mind right there.
his cyclothymia, and
But anyway, on that happy note, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
you have spent 2 hours of your lives with the Minions of the Zoo, and I want to thank you for coming out and listening to us. Thank you, chat, for coming out. We do this for you. And thank you to my panel, Prospero, Harry, Blind Press, Jenna, Geodes. Thanks for spending the time with me. I really appreciate this. It's one of the most fun things I do. But we're going to close it up here for tonight. The zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.